Alright, in this video I'm going to explain to you intake leaks, exhaust leaks, gas oil mix, and gas oil and air mix. First thing is intake leaks. An intake leak is any leak that is not accounted for in jetting, basically. The usual intake leak spots are going to be can be your airbox, if your airbox lid isn't sealed, which comes right before the carb over here, where your carb clamps onto your airbox, where your carb attaches to your reed valves, where your reed valves attach to the intake part of your motor, your stator side or clutch side on the crank, your base cylinder gasket, which is going to go right about, actually in real life it's going to go right about here below the piston level, but the base of your cylinder. And then you can have head gasket leaks as well. Those are going to be your intake leaks. The only other possibility for intake leaks is going to be a case leak. So if there's a gasket, if the motor separates left from right and not top from bottom, there might be a gasket. And if it separates top from bottom, then more than likely it's just sealed with RTV. So those are the possibilities. The way you check for those is a number of ways. You can use starting fluid. If you think there's an air intake leak around your reed valves, then start up your quad, let it run, spray a little bit of starting fluid. If it idles up faster, you know that starting fluid is getting into the engine somehow. So that tells you where the leak is. So intake leaks, rather easy to find. There can be some really slow ones. Generally the stator leak and the clutch leak are hard to find. Usually a case leak is pretty hard to find as well. But you just got to take your time and look for them. You can find them 9 times out of 10. When the motor's running, sometimes you can even feel the pressure coming out. If it's a head gasket or a cylinder gasket, sometimes you'll see oil squirting out if the leak's bad enough. Exhaust leaks, a lot of people don't think that exhaust leaks are a big deal, but they are, because a two-stroke motor runs somewhat off of back pressure. And when there's back pressure, that means that the air from the exhaust is flowing back into the motor. When air comes in to a two-stroke motor through the carb, goes through the reed valves, which are a one-way valve, comes in, lubricates the crankshaft, lubricates the bottom of the piston skirt, lubricates all that stuff when the piston goes up. Then when the piston comes down, it forces all of this air to go up over through here into the combustion chamber. Well, when this piston goes down, hey little guy, what's up? When the piston comes down, it actually sucks some of the exhaust in. There's no valves here to prevent that exhaust from being sucked in. So when you have your combustion chamber, you're going to have basically there's going to be, let's see, 4 or 5 main components. What it's going to be is it's going to be fresh air, fuel, oil, and exhaust. So those are going to be your 4 things. And then obviously there's going to be spark in there too with your spark plug. So assuming you have no leaks, well, let me cover the exhaust part first. The 2 spots where you get exhaust leaks are going to be right where the exhaust connects to the cylinder. There's an O-ring there on Banshees. On Blasters, it's just a flange. So you might want to get some copper RTV or something like that to seal that up. And it doesn't last forever. It'll last you a season or 2, and then you got to reapply it. But really, you should be taking your quad apart and cleaning it and stuff like that. It's not a big deal to throw some RTV on there real quick. And then where your silencer connects to your header, there's a little rubber tube thing that wears out pretty fast, and you can buy aftermarket ones that are nicer that clamp on and stuff, but that's the other one. So when you have a leaks there, that's pretty much the same as if you had an intake leak, because some of that air gets sucked back into the combustion chamber. So we covered intake leaks, we covered exhaust leaks. The next thing that we're going to cover is gas oil mix. Alright, for this demonstration I'm going to show you gas oil mix and gas oil / air mix and show you the difference between the two. You can be, when you talk about running rich, you could be talking about running rich air fuel mixture wise, or you could talk about running rich fuel oil wise. when I say it, I always refer to air fuel-wise, never oil fuel-wise. The reason for that is because I run just about the same ratio on all my two-stroke motors, and I'll explain why. I have a little diagram set up here. Cylinder 1 in the upper left there is set up at 40:1. That's gas-oil ratio, and then cylinder 2 is set up at 20:1 with twice as much oil per part of gas. So I have a diagram there on the right. Blue is going to represent air, red is going to represent oil, green is going to represent fuel, and black is going to represent exhaust. Since we're dealing with gas-oil ratio, we're only going to change the gas and oil. The exhaust, the amount of exhaust that comes back into the cylinder is going to remain the same, and the amount of air that goes into the cylinder is going to remain the same. The only thing that changes is the gas and oil. So let me explain to you how running more oil can actually damage your engine if you don't take an account for it. You can see here, same amount of exhaust, same amount of air coming into the motor. You have a lot more gas here with a little bit of oil, and you have about the same amount of gas and the same amount of oil. Now I just drew this scale to make you understand the concept of how it works. Obviously the scale isn't actually to scale, this is just to explain why mixture changes your jetting. Because look at your air and look at your fuel. You have a lot of air with a medium amount of fuel, and you have a lot of air with a small amount of fuel. You're going to have twice as much oil running through your jet with a 20:1 than you are a 40:1. So when you run more oil and you don't take that into account with your jetting, you're actually hurting your engine. So if you set up an engine to run 40:1, run the jetting, everything, and then somebody tells you, oh, well, 20:1's better. Well, then you switch over to 20:1, so you have twice as much oil, which means you have that much less gas, which technically puts you on the lean scale under the gas-oil-air mix ratio because you have less gas. So I run 40:1. The reason I run 40:1 is because I only run fully synthetic oils. I know Yamaha and all the other two-stroke companies that make stuff out there all tell you to run 20 or 24:1 or set their oil injection to run at that ratio. Well, Yamaha's been saying that for the 20-something years the Banshee's been out. Don't you think oil technology has, come along since then? I know that Amsoil and Mobil 1 and, Royal Purple and all the other fully synthetic brands out there, Klotz, are all excellent oils. There's no reason to run 20 parts fuel to 1 part oil with those high-quality synthetic oils. Yeah, if you're going to run some, Walmart or Kmart brand two-stroke, 2-ounce bottle that you're going to pour in there, yeah, you might want to run it to 21. But in your weed whacker, not in your quad. Your quad is a very expensive engine to rebuild, and so it's worth it to spend the extra couple bucks and buy a quality oil for it. So if you're going to run Yamalube or a semi-synthetic or non-synthetic oil, I'd recommend running about 32 or 36:1. It's not going to lubricate quite as well as the fully synthetic oils, but that's okay. If you don't want to spend the extra money, or if you want to stick with your specific brand, that's fine. Just take an account for it. I believe, which is my personal preference, that a synthetic oil is going to lubricate a little bit better. I don't believe that using a synthetic oil on break-in hurts your engine like some people do, saying it makes it too slippery and makes it not want to break in. I don't believe all that. I think it's all just a bunch of BS. So that's my advice on intake leaks, exhaust leaks, gas oil mix, and gas oil air mix. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thanks a lot for watching.